Hello and welcome back to the Mindset Project podcast. My name is Lewis Conde and my aim is to give you the tools to develop and improve your mindset. By drawing on my own experiences as a competitive swimmer, as well as the opinions and experiences of other incredible individuals, I hope to expose you to an alternative way of thinking. And in doing so, I hope that inspires some sort of personal growth. I believe that through mindset development, we can strive physically, mentally and emotionally. I hope you're all doing well, staying positive and staying healthy. So let's get on to it. I hope you're all doing well this week. I also hope you had a good week as well last week. My week wasn't too bad. I started training a bit more this week as well, just after coming from my little mini break sort of thing. And I'm actually feeling a lot more motivated now, because before I almost felt like I was heading into some sort of rut almost. But I just took a step back and I feel a bit more rested, and as they would say, I'm feeling raring to go to get back into training as I used to, or what I was before, and try and get that volume up a little bit. Last week was also the second week where I kind of got back into the gym, and I was actually feeling pretty strong, which is also a good thing. And it was actually very surprising as well, especially for my second or third session in the gym since they've opened. I was actually squatting 70 kilograms, which for my second gym session back, it's not bad. And I think my PB for squat is 100 or 110 kilograms, which isn't huge. I don't really go into the gym trying to focus on numbers or trying to lift heavy necessarily. It's always my gym stuff's more strength focused, and I do some CrossFit stuff as well, so obviously you don't really want to be doing really heavy stuff there either. And also when it comes to the gym as well, I always listen to what my body's feeling. I don't understand some people who go into the gym thinking that they're going to lift 100 kilograms every single time, or go in and bench press 80 kilograms for 3 sets of 8 or whatever, because obviously every single day you're going to feel different. So I always adjust my gym sessions based on how I feel in that day. So obviously, one day I might be able to squat 3 sets of 8 for 100 kilograms, but another day I might only be able to manage 70 kilograms. So yeah, that's just kind of a little rundown of what my gym routine is kind of at the minute. And another thing I managed to do last week was actually reach 80 kilograms of body weight, which for me is a huge achievement, because I don't even know why, but before I've never even been able to get over 77 kilograms. I've always stayed around the 74 or 75 kilogram range. And I think it was just down to the sheer volume of my training, and obviously because I was at university as well, I was walking to and from classes as well, which I really didn't take into account the calories I was burning. I was only really thinking about the calories I was burning through training. So, but now I'm feeling stronger, feeling more motivated, and I'm actually feeling pretty good with where training's going at the minute. And I don't actually feel too fat, which obviously is a bonus. So enough about me, and we'll get back on to the topic of this week, for this week's episode. And this episode is actually called You Think What You Become, and I guess you could probably say it's kind of an extension on from the Law of Attraction episode, as I did mention this quote quite a bit, and I just thought I'd do an episode on this specifically and looking at it in more detail, as it was something that kind of cropped up when I decreased my volume for that little mini break. And obviously when you decrease volume, you're going to increase your rest time, and that sort of thing, so you're generally going to, well, I don't know if anyone else feels like this, but when there's less volume and more rest, I seem to think more, or you know what I mean, obviously you're not working as hard, so your thoughts go in different ways, that sort of thing. And it's something I've been thinking about the past few weeks. So we've all probably heard of the phrase, what you think you become, and in my experience I can firmly say that it is 100% true, and I think you could probably resonate with this as well. I think I briefly discussed this when I talked about routine, and if I remember correctly, I think I used the example of waking up in such, like, if you have like really poor sleep or you had a bad night's sleep, you might wake up in like a really shitty mood. And obviously waking up in that shitty mood, that could potentially have a knock-on effect to like how you're feeling the rest of the day. And like that just creates this like sort of domino effect. And that is what this like phrase means in a nutshell, really. And also, I don't think this will be like a really long episode, just because it is kind of like an extension, like I said. So I'm trying to aim for like 10 minutes, but like I could go on like a complete tangent, or I could like waffle and like talk nonsense for like longer than that. So we're definitely going to see where that heads. And obviously, back on to the topic, like that was the first tangent, and it's not even 5 minutes or whatever. So whatever we're thinking, whether that is being happy, being sad, being angry, or whatever, I could list any feeling under the sun, and obviously there's like so many feelings out there. There's no point listing them because you kind of like understand what I'm trying to say here. Most of the time we end up in that state. So obviously, if you're thinking happy, you're thinking about being happy, then you're going to feel happy. If you're feeling quite down, you're not going to feel that great. Now, there isn't anything wrong with that, and like when we are happy, obviously our moods are generally more lifted, we feel better, we feel, I don't know, like smiling, like laughing, that sort of thing. We just feel good. But it's when we start to think negatively, or negative feelings or negative thoughts, which is the challenge. And obviously feeling sad or angry are natural feelings, and it is very normal to feel those things, but the challenge we have is actually trying to control that feeling, if you get what I'm saying. And like, as an example, right, if you're feeling sad about something, you might want to just like curl up in a ball and hide from society, go into your bed, like go under the covers or whatever. Or you might want to do like another classic example is put on a really sad song or a really sad playlist and just listen to it and like cry, whatever. And again, that's a very natural response in wanting to do that. And initially it might actually be quite beneficial, because we're actually getting that emotion, we're getting that negative feeling out there, and we do it in like a way which is appropriate to us, because obviously every individual has a different way of processing things, they have a different way of dealing with things. So everyone, you need to make sure it's like an appropriate way for you, and everyone is different. So, but what we need to watch is when that emotion becomes so overwhelming to the point that we end up in like some sort of vicious cycle. Like, so we might feel really sad, right? And obviously we don't really want to speak to anyone, just because we might feel that speaking to someone when we're sad might actually make that other person sad, and we might actually feel guilty for making them feel like that, which is obviously just going to add to like us feeling sad. But speaking to someone actually may help, and if we don't, then we're just going to hold on to that sadness or that feeling, whatever we're trying to like process. And you kind of get the idea that it just rolls on and on like a domino effect. And what we need to do is actually say, okay, I'm feeling like this, I feel shit, but how can I process this and move on? And by processing and addressing how we feel, we eventually start to change how we think, and that changes what we become, or like the energy or the vibration that we send out. And another classic example is actually when we have no motivation whatsoever. Now, take the pandemic for example. Everything was basically shut overnight, and a lot of us weren't able to do the things that we would normally have wanted to do, and because of that we may have lost our motivation to keep to a routine. And you may have actually asked yourself, like, what's the point? And again, that is like a completely natural response to something that we've never really experienced before. And again, like, everyone processes things differently, so that's completely fine response to have to something. But like, obviously in the long term, having that what's the point sort of lack of motivation mentality would eventually make you feel perhaps worse, and it would get to a point where you would realise that you had to do something to get yourself back on track of a routine, and because you realise that, it shows that you know that that negative thought that you were having in relation to poor motivation wasn't actually the thought that you wanted, because you wanted to make that change, if that makes sense. And I think motivation is a really good example to use, because everyone at some point in their life has had motivation so low that they probably couldn't be arsed to even get out of bed. Like, take a cold winter's morning, for example. Like, that's a really classic example. Obviously, in the winter, it's dark, it's cold. The best place that we really want to be staying in is our bed. It's warm, it's cozy. We don't really want to get up, we just want to sleep. And we also know that that's not really going to happen, right? And I think it's really important that when we have these sort of dips in motivation or just negative thoughts, we need to understand and process that thought. And like I said, ask yourself, why are you feeling like this? And see if you can actually address the answer. Now, if it is something you can control, then obviously go ahead, address it and fix it, because it's something that you can control. But if it is something out with your control, then just drop it and move on. Like, that's like the only thing that you can really do. And if by doing that, then you're just going to have like a better peace of mind, basically, because if it's something out with your control, then you're just going to stress over it. And it's basically like stressing over something that you can't really do anything about. And just like, would you rather be stressed about something like that, or would you rather be, happy, moved on, getting on with your life? That sort of thing. And a quick thing to say is, it probably sounds like I'm actually saying that you should never feel negative or having these negative thoughts, or like negative thoughts are bad, but I'm actually doing the complete opposite. Like, these thoughts we get on a daily basis are absolutely normal. It's part of being a human being. And I get moments in the day where I feel shit and a lot of people might not actually think that, because I'm generally quite upbeat, like positive, I'm energetic, that sort of thing. But when I realise that something that is making me angry or making me sad or whatever is out of my control, I just park it, because there's no point wasting time and energy stressing about something that I can't control. Like, I would rather put more energy into something that, like, I can control, or something that's going to improve my life or make me feel better, than stressing about something that's basically irrelevant. But in our heads we kind of latch onto that and think that it is. And like, what I'm trying to actually do is trying to get you to think about your thoughts and see if you can actually process them instead of letting them control you and run your life, if you get what I'm saying. And the thing with me as well is, like, when I had like my period of performance anxiety, for me it was, the reason I was feeling anxious was because I didn't actually understand what was going on in my head. Like, I didn't understand the thought processes or anything. But when my psychologist kind of explained everything to me, it helped me understand why I was feeling the way I was. And like, as a result, I was able to process my thoughts better and feel more positive. Now, obviously, I do have moments where I feel anxious or get periods of feeling like anxiety, but because I'm able to understand and process my thoughts, I'm able to control how I react to them, if that makes sense. And obviously, being able to do that makes me feel more at ease, I guess you could say, and more confident, more positive. And you're probably like thinking, how is this related to what you think you become? Well, it's quite simple, because if you're thinking negatively or thinking you've got like some negative thought process, then if you don't understand how to process and address that, then you're just going to be constantly thinking about, you're constantly going to be thinking in that sort of mind frame, and that's not really productive for anyone. And you probably yourself won't really want to be in that sort of mindset either. Like, you want to probably be in a good mindset, you want to get the most out of whatever you're doing, and in order to do that, you have to be able to like understand and process your thoughts. And I guess you could kind of relate it to mindfulness as well, because being able to process and address your own thoughts is kind of looking within yourself And it's almost like being mindful of your own thinking and your own thoughts in some way, because you're having to kind of unravel why you're kind of having to unravel your feelings and like your thought processes, if that makes sense. So like in a nutshell, what you think you become is basically like, if you think positively, then you're going to be more positive. And obviously I kind of used a lot of examples to kind of illustrate what I'm trying to get across and try and kind of paint a picture of what I'm actually trying to say. And I think it's really, really important, not just how we think, but also what we think, because like our brains are like such powerful tools that sometimes we don't even realise how powerful they are. So feeding our minds with positive thoughts and happy thoughts and, you know, productive thoughts, these are going to have a knock-on effect on how we are as individuals and kind of like how we live our lives. You know, I guess that's really as simple as it is. There's another topic a really simple topic that I've discussed, and I've kind of went into like a really deep detail of it. But, you know, I think it's really important to kind of use images and use examples to kind of understand what I'm trying to get across, if that makes sense. So to kind of conclude this episode, like, you think what you become is such a useful and powerful tool that we can use. Like, if you are really wanting to get the most out of life, or even if you want to get something out of life, say you just want to be more happy, you want to be more positive, then all you have to do is just think that way. Like, it's as simple as that, really. Like, if you want to be better at a specific job, or if you want to be better at a subject at school, you just have to say, like, I can do this, what can I do? And, you know, think in a more positive, proactive perspective, and eventually thinking in that way is going to give you the results that you're wanting, if that makes sense. And like I said, obviously that's it's easier said than done, because sometimes it's really hard to kind of understand what is going on in our heads. Like, sometimes we don't even understand ourselves, never mind telling someone else to do it that way. So I think the only tip I can really give you is just kind of, you know, take like 5 minutes or something, just to kind of, if you feel like you do have any sort of thoughts or thought process that you don't really want, just take like 5 minutes, shut your eyes, and kind of listen to yourself, basically. It'll probably take it takes time to kind of reach that sort of level of awareness, but 5 minutes a day and you'll probably get there. And it really just comes down to understanding our own thought processes, so that we can kind of direct them into the direction that we want them to. So obviously, you know, we can kind of understand why we feel sad, we can understand why we feel angry, and by finding that understanding and being able, and then processing that, we can kind of use that and turn it into something more positive and happy. So yeah, if you like want any help, then I'm happy to answer any questions. My DMs on Instagram are always open. I can also be contacted on the Mindset Project Instagram page. So yeah, I think that's the end of this episode. So with that, I say, stay positive, stay healthy, stay safe, and I shall see you on the next one.